I'm gonna go ahead and press record.
Okay.
Thank you guys for coming. It is Friday. We are checking in, and I hope you guys are ready for the weekend. The meeting is being recorded, and for those of you who cannot come in and be with us today, make sure you're going back into your portal, you're checking this video and watching it, and then sending over any questions that you have, because we have Stephen here today from our partner GRA Capital. And as you guys know, I'm Director of Women-Owned Enterprises over at GRA Capital. And if you're new here, then there's a little bit of extra info for you. So today we have Stephen, and Stephen's going to be talking about the cannabis programs that we have. And so I'm very excited for him to be here, very excited for him to delve into really all of the amazing things that GRA does and has been able to do. They've been in this space for years, you guys. And I'm telling you, the structuring, the success that they've done, the time, the experience, the amount of work that they do, it's literally unmatched. So I'm excited. So Stephen, let's get into it, okay?
Thank you. Thank you for that amazing intro. Yeah. Uh, nice to meet you all. Let me explain a little bit of what GRA does. So we've worked in the cannabis space for about 7 years, ever since it was legalized. We use private lenders to get loans to cannabis companies, because of course, as you know, can't get a traditional loan through a bank. So we've been helping out all these companies, just pretty much getting loans. Um, we have probably over about 50 years of experience, of combined experience in the private lending space. So we do other things outside of cannabis as well. Pretty much any industry, any kind of borrower that needs help with any kind of loans, we can do, especially if they're getting turned down by banks. Um, in terms of cannabis, most of our clients are typically extraction guys, grow ops, or testing facilities. We do some retail, but typically we don't really touch retail too much. Um, we've worked with a number of companies within both California and anywhere else in the United States where cannabis is legal. We've worked with Gold Drop. We've worked with Black Bear Farms out in Humboldt. Vapor Oil Technologies out in Michigan. Premier Concepts out in Oregon. We also work with ancillary businesses as well. So companies like we work with Honest, which is a printing company that does a lot of the printing on cannabis products. We've worked with Flower Hire, which does a lot of helps cannabis companies find employees. Um, our
Okay.
main target for cannabis companies are in their growth period. We don't do too much startups. We have them mostly generating revenue for the past at least 1 or 2 years, ideally, probably 3 or more years. And then for these companies, we offer things like equipment financing, lines of credit, bridge loans, factoring, and yeah, that encompasses kind of the types of loans that we do.
Mm-hmm. And then let's break down some of those different types of loans you just talked about, factoring, lines of credit, in not just the cannabis space, but like across the board. When would something like a line of credit come into play versus factoring, right? For maybe like a manufacturing company.
Uh, so say, okay, so for a line of credit, say that you're generating revenue, you just need some working capital, whether it's you need some help paying employees or whether or not you want to expand the business a bit. That's when you look at something like lines of credit. Um, if you have a bunch of account receivables already, you have clients already that you have ARs with, that's when you would look at something like factoring.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that you guys, I really want you to know too, what GRA can do is they really specialize in working with companies that have been to the bank, maybe the industry the bank doesn't support, right? So How, let's touch on some of the reasons, right? Like we know cannabis is a restricted industry, but there are, ways for clients to access this type of funding. What are maybe, I think a lot of the issues is maybe people don't know where else to turn. So maybe we can cover some creative solutions that GRA has been to do for our clients in the past.
Yeah, definitely. So say that you have, again, say that you have a grow operation and you have, um, you've already exhausted most of your resources. Um, you have a harvest that's coming up, but you need to pay your employees in between now and until the grow is done. We offer things like a bridge loan. A bridge loan will make it so that between the time of you beginning the harvest to the end, we don't require like payments in between then. We don't require any interest. We'll let you have like 3 or 4 months of no interest payments. And then once the harvest is completed, once you're able to start moving it, then the loan begins.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, okay, gotcha. And so for a lot of the cannabis companies, you guys that, so what does the process look like for submissions, right? Bank statements, financial documents, what are the ones that you require?
Yeah, so initially we will have you fill out an application. We'll need to look at things like we have to make sure that your licenses are all up to date. Um, we'll do a credit and background run. Um, we'll usually look at 2 or 3 years financials, which will mean we probably need about at least like 6 months of the most recent bank statements.
Mhm.
We'll look at interim financials. We'll need a balance sheet. If we're doing factoring, we'll look at your ADR and AP agent reports.
Mhm. And now what if we have, because we've had some clients that are missing some of those documents, right? What about those two situations?
We are able to work around it. There are some things that are a requirement. We do need to make sure that the licenses obviously are all up to date. Um, in terms of any kind of like financials, um, it's very dependent on the situation, but we can work around them.
Mhm.
The main things that we do need are kind of a balance sheet just to see how well the company has been doing. We have to make sure that there is revenue being generated in the business.
Mhm. It's dependent on the situation, right? So say for example, they need generators, right? And they're submitting for an equipment financing, right? They would
Hmm.
submit the invoices or maybe a link to the equipment so that we can verify that and see the information, correct?
Correct. Yeah. We'll need to look at the equipment, what they're looking to purchase, um, how much it is, what the exact like model is, just so
Mhm.
we can have a better idea of what they're looking for.
So when you guys are out there and you're connecting, with your clients, if they do want equipment, it's always good to, ask them, what type of equipment, just go ahead and send me over the invoice. If they don't have an invoice, you can ask for the link to the website that they were looking at, so you want to get that information ahead of time. We can get it submitted, sent over to Stephen, and he can let you know what the next steps are. Once you have all of the documentation that you need, let's kind of go through what that process looks like, right? From application to the conversation, right, that we have, and then also the due diligence that's involved.
Yeah. So once the application's filled out, once we've been able to look at the deal, once we're able to kind of put some terms together, we'll send out a term sheet over to the borrower. It'll have typically our terms are 2 3 years. Um, we will work out with the borrower, making sure that everything looks good on their side. From then we will get approval, and then we will send out a package that will be requesting certain documents from them that will be a little bit more in depth. We'll be looking for, say, tax returns, um, depending on what type of deal it is, like if it's a factoring deal, we'll need the most current ARAP aging reports. If it's equipment, again, we'll need the exact equipment that they're looking to purchase and finance. And then after that, once everything's been approved, after that, everything, all the due diligence is completed. We're looking at about like 2 weeks to get it funded after that.
Okay, okay. All right, great. And then let's touch on, equity. Excuse me, because we have some people that, ask about that and want to submit for equity, but the strength really is on the debt piece of this, right? Unless they're a certain size. Maybe you want to touch on that?
Yeah, typically we don't do equity. We look more at in terms of straight up loans. A lot of borrowers, they don't want to give up pieces of their company. We're not looking for that. We're not looking to really invest in these companies in that way. We want to make sure that they only want to be in this loan for like 2 or 3 years. They want to be able to pay this off, and then they just want to be done with it. That way, they don't owe us anything after that, and they can continue to grow their business on their own.
Right, they're getting the funding and then they're leveraging the funding to grow, to scale, and then they don't necessarily, they could move on, right?
Correct.
And so does anybody have any questions so far for Stephen?
Yeah, Stephen, this is Angelo. And I have a lot of cannabis customers, but
but they're mostly retail.
Right. That's what I was going to
to.
ask. So, yeah, they're all dispensaries. First of all, do you have a underwriting guideline sheet?
We do have some kind of a punch list of things that we're looking for.
And how about marketing material? Do you have any marketing material for these programs?
So the marketing material we are developing, right, Stephen, for that, but the punch list that he has will be, we'll have to update it and then get it sent out.
So
okay, so you said most of your clients are like retail.
Yeah.
What area are you located in?
I'm in Northern California, but I got customers in Montana, Alaska, New Jersey, all over, and a lot in California.
Yeah, for us, we haven't done a whole lot of retail within California just because the default rate in comparison to a lot of the other companies that we work with is a little bit higher. Again, most of the companies that we've worked with are like extraction company, grow ops, and like testing facilities. Because our typical deal size is about like 1 to 5 million. We can do down to like 500,000, but anything below that we don't typically do.
Oh, I see. 1 to 5 million. So it doesn't sound like
500.
any of our customers are a potential.
What are your customers looking to do? What are they looking to expand?
We don't know. We haven't approached them yet. So that's.
But we don't want to approach them
if
in fact it isn't an option.
Right.
I mean, in terms of the retail space, the ones that we have worked with, we've worked with people trying to if they're trying to buy, if they already have a dispensary going and they're trying to expand and purchase another property, we have worked in that space. But if they're I'm trying to think of what else they would need. If they're just trying to buy, if they need working capital just to purchase like more products or
Like
hire
50,000,
more employees, yeah, it's a
100,000.
little bit more rough in that space. Like we wouldn't be able to do that. But if they are something like they're trying to expand out, buy a new property, we can help them with that.
Okay, so expansion. you're still looking at a 500,000 minimum.
Minimum, right?
We could probably go down to like 250,000, but that would probably be like the very, that would probably have to be the minimum.
Okay. And yeah, I would think first of all, they may be a dispensary and want to expand into cultivation and what the other side of the business, and a lot of them are trying to do that. So would that change the parameters for them?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because if they are looking to go into cultivation, I mean those have huge startup costs, and especially like again, if their business is already generating revenue, that's what we're looking at.
Right. So typically we wouldn't want to approach most of our customers unless we found that out.
How much are how much are they generating?
I don't know.
We don't know. That's not
Right, so I
information.
wouldn't, immediately shut your clients off, especially when we don't know where they are at that point, right? I would always start the conversation, with we're in business capital, and then see what that need is. If they need smaller startup capital, they might have to look at getting something like an unsecured loan, right, under their personal, just to get started. And then as they grow, they would be able to access the funding, with GRA to grow and scale as well. So all of those steps, right? Utilizing it at different intervals.
Yeah, and that would work, of course, if we just need to make sure what's capable on this end.
Yeah, and one of the great things about this platform is even though we work with multiple, lenders and the best in this space, and even banks, depository banks, and private capital, and we have all of these really great resources. We do not submit, an application to all of those resources. We really delve into it ahead of time, assess the need, and then find out what's going to be the best strategy and the best map to get to where they're trying to go, and then match them with the right funder. So it really all around, helps them and saves time as well.
So let's just, if we go with it's what?
GRA.
GRA. What is the commission on those loans?
So GRA is our partner. So it's still under DFX Group. GRA we collaborate with, right? And so everything that's in our structure that we discussed applies. So every funded amount is the same commission structure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, but there are variables on that, on different.
That just so it's within the lender, right? So what type of, if it's a working capital loan, there are certain percentage points on that. If it's an equipment lender loan, there's certain points on that as well. SBA has certain points, but the way we do it is on the funded amount, we do that revenue share for the commission. And we can dive into that a little bit more as well,
Okay.
if you have more questions.
Yeah, I would really appreciate if we could get that the underwriting guidelines and any marketing materials you might have, anything to support approaching these customers.
Absolutely.
So we, we're in the know. We can, set the right expectations.
Definitely. And then Stephanie was asking, Stephen, was there a revenue or monthly deposit requirement needed for this type of funding?
Not exactly. For us, we look at again, our typical deal size is 1 to 5 million. So we are looking revenues of like up to at least like they need to be able to pay off the loan within the 2 or 3 year terms. That's about it. So we are looking at revenues of like 2 to 5 million typically.
And then let's also, just to clarify, so we have GRA has opened up the new division where we're looking at sub-million deals and helping clients in that area as well, right? Predominantly, it has been in that $1 million range, but it is exciting that they're opening that up. So do you want to clarify that? Is it just the cannabis space that is this funding range? And then as far as our other industries, we still are doing the sub-million.
It's mainly the under industries that we're able to do the sub-million equipment financing. We're still trying to work to get more lenders out there in the cannabis space for sub-million financing in like the $50,000 to $500,000 range.
Oh, that'd be great.
So that will help with like that can range from anywhere from like say gyms, small businesses, micro businesses. In terms of cannabis,
Clinics, like gyms,
we can do things like
restaurants.
hopefully in the future we can do things like POS systems or anything like that that can go into dispensaries. We can fund stuff for stuff like that.
And what is the range, the interest rate range?
It's very dependent on it's very dependent on the deal. For lines of credit, we're looking at about 14%, which is about like 5 over prime right now. Equipment varies, and it all kind of varies depending on the credit score as well. But typically, our starting point for lines of credit is about 14%.
Okay, that's very reasonable. But and where do you pull the we're looking for these type of deals, you're looking at the business credit, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And a good paydex is what, 80? Is that right?
80 and above is a good paydex. But part of the process of this is we do a soft pull as well. So just to see, the profile, the blueprint, see how they're managing, their funds as well, and get that profile. So we do that soft pull. And then that hard pull, like I said, doesn't come until they actually would accept the offer. Business credit can increase if they have business credit, absolutely, especially if they're doing something like an SBA loan. SBA is going to look to see if they have business credit. So for them to establish their business credit is always a good idea. There's also lines of credit that report as business credit trade lines. So those are the things that are helpful.
So when you're pulling personal credit, what company do you pull from, and I know there's different categories of credit. What category would this fall into? So
Jean will come on and we can delve a little bit more into that. Today we were just going to cover the cannabis funding, but you and I can meet separately and we can go into that.
Let's see. Okay, great. Okay, yeah, I pretty much that's all the questions I had.
All right. Did anybody else have any more questions for Stephen while he's here? All right. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for coming in today. You guys will be, as you submit, you'll be talking with Stephen more as well, especially as you're running through your deals, and, he's underwriting them and working with you on those as well. So any other questions you have, just make sure you send them to me, send them to us, and then we'll make sure we get those answered for you, okay? And then if you weren't here, make sure that you also, if you have questions that come up, send those over so that we can make sure that you also have all the information that you need, okay?
One last question. Is it our responsibility to collect all the documents?
So it varies. You can collect the documents if you'd like. You can just send over the information, the phone number, and the email of the client, and we can reach out to them. Really, whatever you prefer, we can work within your parameters. So you can collect the documents, right, ahead of time. You can email them, or you could just let us talk with them, and then we can collect it at that time.
Yeah, different companies are going to be a little, variable on the amount of exposure they want to provide to a minimum amount of people, I would think. But ultimately, my experience is that, yeah, it's best if I collect what needs to be collected because we have that relationship. But if they're,
It'll vary on.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So yeah, if you can get the documents and send those over, that works. It speeds up the process if you could do that as well. So, but yes, it will depend, right, as you move through.
And I could send you over again the kind of like punch list and things that we're looking for. That way, you know what exactly to ask for from your client and how you want to present it.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you, Stephen.
All right, you guys, that's it for today. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your time. Stephen, thank you so much for coming. Angelo, Stephanie, Maggie, and everybody else. All right, I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Dominique. Thanks for having me.
Thank
All right.
you.
Stephen.
Bye.